Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here, as Ms. Kofi already said, that in the government of Afghanistan, it was a habit that we always started with naming everybody in the audience, which will be too time consuming. So I will avoid that, and I will directly come to the main points that I want to discuss. And for the sake of the efficiency, I will just go directly to the points and to use this time that I have available for me. So I just want to start talking about an event in February 2021. For the first time in the history of the intelligence service of Afghanistan, we gathered the chief of intelligence services of the region. And we had a conference for 2 days. In that conference, we had a few messages to pass to them. Since I took over as the Director General of that service, one thing that bothered me was that we were fighting a great force of up to 10,000 people, very committed, very hard fighters. But their ambition was not Afghanistan. It was beyond Afghanistan. But we paid the price for that. Our soldiers were dying. We paid the sacrifice. And these countries were rolling out red carpets for their Taliban visiting delegations to their countries. So we thought that this was not fair. We gathered these countries, and we had a few messages. Message number one was that the fight that we are doing and the sacrifice that we are paying, it's for the whole security of the region. It's not only for Afghanistan, it's for the security of the region. And for that reason, we need your support to be with us. As the US and the coalition forces were leaving, we were facing a great capability shortage. And we were losing some key capabilities. And we knew it, that it would be very, very difficult. The request we had from these countries was that it's a joint war. We are fighting your war. Why don't you join together with us? Why don't you fill the gap of some of these capabilities that will be missing? We knew that without those capabilities, especially the Air Force, it will be really, really difficult for us. We knew that we were facing a very highly inspired group of people who are committed to bring that situation in the country that we are facing now. And we also warned them that if we are overpowered for some reason, and why we did that? Because our soldiers were very tired. They fought many, many years in very difficult areas. The forces were overstretched, and the loss of Air Force capability was something that we knew that it would be difficult to reach for all those soldiers. So anyway, these were the messages that were passed to them, but unfortunately, nobody took it serious. And we also told them that if we are overpowered and if we are not there, these people that we are fighting today will knock behind your doors very soon. And the last thing was that, of course, in the short term, it will be a big catastrophe for the people of Afghanistan, but in the long term, it will be a big, big issue, a big price that the region will have to pay. Of course, those guys didn't take us serious, and the allies, the US and the allies, those days, they would call us the peace spoilers. Anybody talking about the realities will be called as peace spoilers, as we were making these things up and Taliban were guys and they were reformed. They didn't have that phase, and they would say that it's the Afghan government making these things up, and the reality is something different. So, talking about today, of course, don't want to go deep to what happened, everybody knows it, and it has been 4 years that people are talking about what happened. So, what's happening today? Again, some of the things that I want to share here with you, it's all from the international reports. It's nothing from our side, nothing from the side of the Afghans. It's the international reports that talk about that. The first thing is the presence of the terrorist groups. The terrorist groups are definitely now in control, and they use Afghanistan as the command and control center. They want to have it as a safe place, and from there they would conduct their activities outside. A lot of analysis and arguments talk about the fact that, well, there is no activity now from Afghanistan and everything seems peaceful. They are in the phase of consolidation. So once they move away from that phase of consolidation, we will see a lot of things happening. These groups have access to a lot of illicit finances, illicit economy, like drugs, weapons, even human smuggling is now controlled by Al-Qaeda. And they are making a lot of money from that business. The second thing that Ms. 𝗂𝗶𝗃 also covered, I just want to briefly talk about it, it's that process of radicalization. They have stopped and they have banned the formal education both for boys and girls. So for the girls it's a complete ban, but for the boys also they encourage people to go to madrasas. And this is a deliberate action because they know the more people go to these kind of madrasas that they teach, the more fighters they will have in a few years to come. Overall, we have around 4 million students of madrasas in both Pakistan and Afghanistan. So imagine if 10% or 20% of these people become extremists, radicalized to that extent that they would create problems around the world. We will face a number of 800,000 people. And that's a lot of people. And these were the people that Taliban never, in their 20 years of fight, felt the shortage of human power. They were just bringing in all these people, and the more they would be killed on the battlefield, the more the next year they would bring fighters. So this is another issue, like a warning that we have to take into consideration. The OIC had a conference in Islamabad in January 2025. One thing that they clearly say is that nothing or anything that the Taliban are bringing the restrictions on the women, it's not related to Islam. It's not Islamic. It's not an Islamic value. It's just the mentality of the Taliban. It's just that mentality that they have been brought up with. So they shouldn't defame Islam for some of the acts that they are doing. So the Islamic world has given a very clear message that whatever they are doing, it's not Islam, it's their own mentality. And whatever they are doing against the women, as Ms. 𝗂𝗶𝗃 also said, it's a gender apartheid and it should be recognized. So one of the biggest achievements that we had in the last 20 years of the Republic, it was the freedom of speech. And the freedom of speech under Taliban has suffered in a very bad way. Around 200 13 media centers have been closed. A lot of journalists have been forced to leave the country, and in one of the recent statements of a senior parliament member, he was boasting and talking about the fact that how he was so interested to chase journalists and kill them, and unfortunately, according to him, they managed to leave the country. Another negative aspect is, again, this is the report of the IOM, and everybody has seen it. It's the mass migration because of the Taliban regime. 8 million people till 2024, they have left Afghanistan, and according to that report, between 4,000 to 5,000 people would leave the country just to Iran. And this process continues. Of course, there was involuntary deportation of the Afghans from the neighboring countries back to Afghanistan, but majority of them, they go back because they don't see any other option for themselves to have a decent life. They go back, and some of the people still who remain in Afghanistan, if you see the reality, they have technical problems, like they don't have passports or they don't have the means for that, otherwise they will also not stay there. So, talking about the negatives, there are so many that we cannot count in these kind of gatherings. Extrajudicial killing, lack of strategic policies with the neighbors and with the world, the isolation that Afghanistan is facing, it's even worse than their first regime. And just in the past 4 years, only Russia half-heartedly accepted them or recognized them as an official government, but nobody else is really to join them. So now, about the future, when we see the future, the first thing is that we, the people of Afghanistan, and anyone who see that whatever is happening in Afghanistan is not acceptable, we have the main responsibility, all of us, to do whatever we can to change the situation. Going in the past and analyzing all the past events as we have done so far will not give us any positive outcome. We will be just analyzing the past so much that we will be paralyzed and will lose our energy to think about the future. We should not have a big expectation from the countries who held Afghanistan in the 20 years of the Republic to help again, because that was unique circumstances. It was a threat that they felt, and now they think that threat is not there. Although I have disagreed with this concept in a few conferences that I have participated. For example, some of our Western friends say that terrorism is not a priority for us. So my question has been to them that, what about the terrorists? Do they also think that you are not a priority for them? Or it's just like a one-sided affair? As far as we know their mentality, they have still a lot to ask from the West, and the West must do it. As I say, there are enough ingredients to see that a threat is emerging and is coming out from Afghanistan. The terrorist groups are operating, they are rich because they have access to a lot of illicit money there. They have a great number of radicalized people, and with the destitute and poverty that is now happening in Afghanistan, a lot of these people, especially we have around 70% of our people under the age of 30, they are very vulnerable. They can be recruited by these groups, and these groups are rich enough now to use them for their own causes. There is no doubt that the problems will not be confined in the borders of Afghanistan. It will sooner or later come out. Nobody was a winner in the Afghan case. Even a country like Pakistan that invested so much to help and nurture and provide shelter to these groups, now they are facing a big problem themselves. And this is a reality. This is just the start of the show for Pakistan. They will see more to come. And this is also the same thing for the Central Asian countries. We thought initially that the first wave of terrorism will go towards Central Asian countries. But somehow we see that the flag or the wave has gone towards Pakistan. But it will not be that far that the Central Asian countries and the others will also see that problem. In some of the conferences that I attend, I'm always asked by especially our Western friends that are we going to see another 9/11? My answer has always been no, because this time terrorist groups are way stronger, way richer, and the actions that they will do will be way more sophisticated, complicated, and bigger in magnitude. And the very last thing for ourselves, Sun Tzu says in the book of Art of War that if we know ourselves and if we know our enemies, we will not lose in 1,000 of battles. The problem that we have till now is that we have spent almost no time to understand ourselves, understand our capabilities, understand who we are, and understand our situation. And we have spent very less time to know the aim. So as long as we do not do these things, it will be a very difficult journey, a long time until we reach our destination. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much again for a chilling picture which is emerging here. I don't know if Zishan is going to